And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, a vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because sometimes just surviving on spite is enough. It's okay to just simply exist. It's not great, but sometimes it works. And of course, sometimes we just follow through with the old adage that sometimes a journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. You are probably going to hear some wheezing coming out of me. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of coughing going on before, and, well, there is very low-level asthma in my family, so it's kind of that going on. And don't worry, I don't have to take any kind of medication or nothing for it. It's just you cough really hard for a while, and, well, that happens until everything settles down. It'll be fine. Joining tonight from the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch. You made it. Good evening.
Hey.
All right, that was kind of cool. Oh, and look at that. From the right coast of America, UnrenownedTech. Good morning. You made it.
Yep, and I'm awake.
And literally at the last possible second being able to join us from Paris. I'm assuming you're currently in Paris as opposed to anywhere else at the moment. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning. I won't be going anywhere for a while.
Fair enough. How are you doing today?
Fine. I've had a few events which I will relate after the show.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, everybody, of course, as always, thanks for being with us. Hope that you have yourselves a good time with us. And as always, if you'd like to join us while we're doing this live, you can just pop on over there and join us over on the live chat. So, Stephanie, you made it. Good morning. Phyllis, thank you. I appreciate it. If there is a buzzing going on, I thought that I had the mixer tuned better tonight, so I apologize for that. Apparently, it may not have necessarily been as good a tune-up as I had hoped for. I had somebody who sent me a new power supply for the mixer. It didn't do anything, which is kind of what we were expecting, and we have to see about returning that because it was a little bit of an investment that not really useful. So when a company sends you a replacement power supply and it's wrapped in bubble wrap and the inner piece is a Ziploc bag, I mean, you wouldn't expect to have to pay $85 for one of these, but apparently you do, because Behringer.
I'm actually kind of pissed off looking at that right now.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's a power supply. You just said it was wrapped in a Ziploc bag and then bubble wrap?
Yep.
The amount of static
I
you can build up doing that and destroying the electronics. They specifically make like baggies that have the Ziploc line on them. They make pink bubble wrap that's all ESD rated for anti-static shipping and such.
Oh, I know.
And you can get that stuff at your local shipping store too, or even a Staples, for crying out loud.
I know.
Something that important.
And that screams of something that's used and refurbished or repaired.
It's possible. I didn't see anything on it that was an obvious the shell was cracked open kind of thing. So,
and that's the thing. I've used ones that have been repaired or refurbed or whatever, and just fine. It's just that the care in shipping is what's getting me. That, hey, look, you're trying to do this nice thing, but you don't do that one extra little thing to take care of it, which could possibly nuke the whole damn thing in the process.
Yep, that's fair. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah. So as far as the buzzing is concerned, I have no way of hearing it right now. I probably should have inspected a little bit better before I got everything ready over here. Sorry. I'll make a better point of it next week. So, is what it is. And before we get rolling, just to make sure that everybody is on board, my birthday is actually coming up on Monday. And I actually had to think about it and realize to myself, oh yeah, 55. I have a hard time reminding myself that I really can't be telling anybody I'm 39 anymore. Nobody buys it. It's an old joke. But, so.
Dude, you don't look a day over 28.
And you, sir, need to wind up your glasses more often.
Did you say wind up my glasses?
Do you not wind up your glasses?
No, I waxed them.
There we go. There's your problem right there.
I like to keep them buffed.
Lubricated.
What you do on your weekends is your business entirely. Which also reminds me, next week I'm going to be working on Saturday, so I have to see about getting the show information together before then.
And no, Joseph, I lubricate my shoelaces. That way they're easier to tie together. They just slip right together.
Be easier if you to just put a couple luggage locks on them. That's all I'm saying.
Are you kidding?
Or springs.
Have you not watched The Lock-Picking Lawyer?
Oh, I absolutely have.
If I'm going to put locks on my shoes, I want to make sure that they're relatively pick resistant. And I mean, I can't walk around with master locks. I mean, I could open those damn things with a straw.
My dude, if you're so inept at perception that you would miss somebody that was actually kneeling down in front of you and picking the locks on your shoes, you deserve to have the locks picked on your shoes.
We just talked about my glasses here.
Is what it is. So let me go ahead and get it.
Must have a...
Yeah?
Yeah, someone must have one hell of a foot fetish.
Well, I mean, if you read Dungeon Crawler Carl, we can just say that even artificial intelligence is susceptible to things like that.
And, of course, artificial intelligence ain't.
Not yet, anyway.
We'll leave it at that. I'll get everything rolling over here then. So let's go ahead and do that. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle, as usual, just starts right now. Now, some people were probably looking at this and realizing there's probably an edit that's going on here. No, as a matter of fact, I did exactly what I intended to do. Star, or splat, depending as to which programming language you want to use, itch, I-T-C-H. And no, this is not like making reference to the gaming website, itch.io. It's got nothing to do with that. And most people were looking at it and thinking, well, and you'd be right in thinking of it, that the star, or the splat, or whatever you want to call it, it's usually a stand-in for a variable that could be literally anything. And if you go looking up on the ASCII charts, if memory serves, under the number 42, that's what this is, because it's the universal stand-in variable for literally anything and everything. And if you were to go searching through computer code for star or splat, and then a combination of letters or numbers right after it, you're going to go looking for exactly that combination with whatever ahead of it. But in this case, I'm going to use two very specific letters. The first one is bitch. Nobody saw that one coming, I'm sure. Because the other one to go along with it is Mitch. Mitch McConnell, here in the United States, has finally said, you know what, maybe I'm getting a little bit too old for this job. Maybe I should just go ahead and just go away now before I don't have any more health left in my life. You know what? You've been a thorn in our side for literal decades. We just want you to go away. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the F-bomb right here. Go the fuck away and darken are towels no more. You've bitched about literally everything that's been tried to be done to advance this country, our society, our people. You bitched and moaned when it was a matter of, well, trying to make people more equal, to help those that need it. And now, after all these years, you've finally decided in the twilight of your life that maybe you should just step aside. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break my rule and go ahead and use another F-bomb. Motherfucker, what took you so long? It's not so bad that we had to wait for goddamn Henry Kissinger to finally get picked out of the claw machine by death. He finally got his. And here we are, waiting on your dead ass. I know you're not dead yet, but everyone does. Every living thing does. Now, I do not necessarily believe that you are going to be somebody that I'm going to appreciate later once you're gone. I hope that you are another one of those people that I can just kick back, cross my arms over my chest, have a self-satisfied nod, and realize, yep, we finally got through all the bullshit that you put in our way. You're going to be out there on the same plane as people like Rush Limbaugh, who is very much dead, and we don't even think about him anymore. Fred Phelps, who is also very much dead, and we just don't think about him anymore. Mitch, not even 3 months after you are finally put into the ground, we are not even going to think about you anymore, except as the stain we had to step over in order to correct all the crap that you did to us. And we're going to be grateful for that, because it will be a warning to everyone else years and years and years down the road. Don't be that bitch. Thanks for being a perfect example. We appreciate you. And if I thought I'd get away with it, I'd go ahead and salute you. But only with one hand, because I only need one finger anyway. Let's go ahead and swing on over to the horrible scopes, because I've had about enough of that, and Lord knows we can go ahead and just move on from something else. So for those of you that know where your astrological sign is, cool. Those that don't, you can just make it up as you go along. Get one of those D12s with the fun squiggles on it. And if you need one of those, get in touch with the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. They can sell you one. They can't ship it, but they can sell you one. And when you drop in, just say hi to the mimic in the window. And if the mimic in the window isn't there in the window, don't trust the guy behind the counter. That's all I'm saying. It's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia. It's the home of the Blue Devil. So, what's going on this week for y'all? I'm damned if I know. We just kind of let the mind wander and be influenced by the Flying Spaghetti Monster's version of heaven. So, with beer volcanoes and midget strippers as inspiration, let's have at this week's scopes, shall we? Aries, your choices for background music when you're doing monotonous things is just weird to everyone around you. Death Clock, without the Batman parody videos, drops a lot of context that people would really need to appreciate the songs. And come to think of it, those videos might make people lose too much mental train track anyway. So this week, try listening to something a little more normal, like mid-90s Japanese rockabilly.
Taurus. We're suggesting you get some friends together to do something fun, like an escape room. Trouble is finding a time to get you all scheduled at the same time, what with food and transportation and skill. So, how about getting a trip to a local mall with an escape room group in it? You can all eat whatever you like at the food court, then get to the event in time. Simple, right? So, this week, plan ahead what you want to eat. Most of the mall eateries use oil of dubious quality.
Yeah, down where I live, we actually have a couple escape rooms, but if you don't know where they are, or you don't know how to use Google, you'll never find them. It's just like, yeah, you can escape the room, but first you gotta find it. Gemini, let's talk about your musical tastes while we're at it. New Age Girl by Dead-Eye Dick from 1994 is just all kinds of fun and cringe at the same time. The fact that it got any airplay in the first place is amazing. She don't eat meat, but she sure likes a bone. Truly profound concepts from the mind of a man proud of his mullet. So this week, buy some frozen peas and record a commercial for them. And if you don't understand that reference, look up Maurice Lamarck's The Brain, recording a commercial for peas. You're welcome.
Cancer Moonchild. We know you feel like you've been on your own all week, and we're sorry for that. Things have just been circling around you while not intersecting with you, and right now that's for the best. Between the car accident you didn't partake in and the deer attack that skipped you entirely, you've got more than your fair share of good luck right now. So this week, look up the video titled Glacier National Park Grizzly versus Moose, and you'll see what your bad luck has been dealing with all week. Respect the moose.
Yeah, once you go and look up that video, you'll understand. Leo, things aren't boring for you by any stretch of the imagination. We're glad you decided to spend some time outdoors, but we're not happy with the how part. Normally, we'd say you were nuts going outside this week in cargo shorts and a t-shirt, but the weather's even more unpredictable than your wardrobe. So this week, we know that you have more than just promotional shirts from .com startups that have folded 20 years ago. Wear some of those this week. No one remembers who Starfish Software was, and tech support people will laugh at you for that one anyway. Don't ask why.
Virgo, we're proud that you want to be innovative and creative with electric guitars, but let's face facts here. You cannot play an electric guitar with a violin bow. Not because it can't be done, it totally can if you redesign the bridge and carve the strings. But what you'll have done is remade an instrument that's already existed for 800 years. So this week, do you know what a hurdy-gurdy is? Here's a hint. Force a violin to have a baby with a set of bagpipes. That's what you're about to create. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Look, I understand that some people don't like the sound of bagpipes and violins and things like that, but when the hurdy-gurdy is played well, it's really awesome. Like Patty Gurdy, if you look on YouTube, Patty Gerby, and with the keyword troll, it's a fun music video she made. It's catchy. It's got a section of it. It's not all just hurdy gurdy. It's mixed in with everything else, and it makes it sound amazing. Libra, it's almost spring, so we're telling you for your own good. It's time for the most basic of spring cleaning. Take down the stockings, the tree, and the wreath, and put them into storage. You don't need to put up anything for St. Patty's Day, but that's all up to you. You'll only need to pull it down again, and with your lack of motivation, we think it's better if you plan for celebrating National Forest Week with the Canadians. So this week, those Christmas cards are still up from 2021. Take them down already.
Scorpio. We want you to like us, so we'll try to be nice this time. And sadly, the magical D20 was fired on by a Klingon D7, and that just ruined all the prospects for a good scope this week. So this week, oh Jesus, ¿cuál es okay, learn to speak Klingon or else.
I had to try to explain to some people what it's supposed to say, and apparently the English to Klingon translation system is different from Klingon to English for some reason.
I honestly love the fact that the Klingon language is actually a complete language, and that there have been repeated cases of people going to events where couples who speak completely opposite native tongues have used Klingon to hold a full conversation, actually end up developing like a relationship, significant other level relationship, and still don't know each other's own languages, but because they share Klingon. And I'm like, I would love to like see that happen in person sometime. That just to me is just it's why is that not on the Hallmark Channel?
More appropriately, why has nobody realized that Klingon is simply becoming the real-life D&D common language?
Yeah, there you go.
Sagittarius, the worst part about your driving isn't that you're predictable, it's that so many others aren't. Let us explain. You try to be conscientious in the bad weather, especially now with the rain and the cold, the snow, the ice, the wind. But everyone around you just doesn't seem to care, and that's making you more upset than you need to be. So this week, put on some calming music to help you relax more. Like maybe something by Death Clock.
Capricorn. You know that show Penn and Teller Fool Us? For the uninitiated few, illusionists Penn and Teller invite magicians from around the world to come on stage, perform for them, and, well, try to fool them into not knowing how a trick was done. If they can, they get to perform as the opening act in Vegas. We know you're not well versed in prestidigitation or legerdemain, but you can watch along with the boys and just enjoy the acts for what they are. So this week, find and watch season 10, episode 1, and see one of the best fools that's ever been pulled on Penn and Teller.
Yeah, some of those episodes are really cool.
When we get done, I'll explain what that particular episode was.
I think I know which one it is, but I'm not going to ruin it. We'll talk about it later. Aquarius, we know you want to write the great American novel and strike it big, but let's face facts. The novelty of doing that one Twitter message at a time has already been done. And the idea of doing a long prose without using the letter E has also been done. You're really behind the curve on this one. So this week, you don't need to do anything except just write. You don't need to go through a publishing house anymore. Just self-publish. It was good enough for Kirk Spot / fiction. It's good enough for you.
Pisces. There was a request to give you to. There was a request. There was a request put in to give you a good scope this week. So here you are. You are more handsome than George Reeves of Superman fame, more intelligent than Jimmy Jameson, formerly of the band Survivor, and faster than Roger Bannister of the 4-Minute Mile. You are a well-rounded individual who's not rounded in shape. We are proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. So this week, remember that we were bribed to say all these things. Pause. I shouldn't literally say pause. You're still an okay person in our eyes. So go you.
Yeah, you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
It's like when I was growing up, when I was reading Charlie Brown, I used to read it was always written Charlie Brown, he's always going sigh, sigh, in a way of showing that when he's annoyed or sad or whatever. So I used to literally say sigh instead of sighing. Anyways,
Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, you are hopefully Pisces, because I mean, it's my sign, this particular one, so it is the way that it is. If you want a better or nastier one for yourself or someone else, all you need to do is bribe me by feeding the vanity monster by asking, or literally bribe me. Take a swing over to coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. There's a story behind that. And you can literally bribe me right there and see how it goes. I'll have these posted online. Sorry?
Or send them a new power supply.
Yeah, that's not gonna... No. I'll have these posted at the end of the week as always. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, BlueSky. If you're looking for those much fabled BlueSky invite codes, even though you don't need them, I am selling mine. I've got about 14 of them still left for NFTs for anybody that wants them. So you can get in touch with me, and we'll make a deal. We'll make a deal. This episode
NFTs?
Sure. I mean, why not? I mean, I've got a thumb drive. I can put the NFT on it, and I can bronze this, and then you can keep it, and nobody will ever be able to get it back from you, and you've got the only one, so long as you keep the thumb drive. It used to have Win 10 on it, but it's functional. All right, it'll be fun. Episode 485 on the docket, Your Honor. Order of operations. So, like I put into the announcement for the show, yeah, normally when we talk about order of operations, we're talking about math. Okay, for Stephanie, maths. But, you know, there was a piece that I saw fairly recently where somebody had gone ahead and said, you know, the Earth is 6,000 some odd years old, and you know, we believe that because that's what's in the Bible. And guy came up and basically said, look, the existence of uranium disproves that because of the half-life time for it, because it's one of the steps in the process for a half-life is like 39,000 years for one specific step. So, you know, yeah. So, for whatever it's going to be worth, we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about why these people again refuse to listen to the scientific literature, the proven and provable facts of the universe, and just simply wave it away with, well, that's the way God made it when he made it 6,000 years ago. Because, of course, that hand-wavy, magical bullshit just solves everything right there. So.
Yeah, everything's decided for me. I mean, I don't have to think about anything because, you know, I'm covered.
Yeah. So, as an aside, did you guys take a look at the Wikipedia article that this is all based off of?
Nope.
No.
All right. Perfectly fine. What I've got linked in the show notes is specifically to the Wikipedia article that goes through the whole breakdown of radioactive material in the uranium uranium series is what it's called, because it starts up there, and it basically starts off from californium, which is quote unquote an artificial element. And we say it's an artificial element because we've been able to synthesize it in the labs, but we've not been able to locate it naturally occurring, mainly because it is so incredibly unstable. So it just breaks down very quickly. Or relatively quickly. So, for instance, californium breaks down in half-life 13 years, which then brings it to curium, with a half-life of 4,800 years, which then brings you to a version of plutonium, which is measured in scientific notation for how many years the half-life is for that. Which then goes down to a version of uranium, which again has another scientific notation for that one. So you kind of get the idea that no, 6,000 years is simply just a physical impossibility. And if you wanted to follow that along, by the way, the link is over in their show notes, so you can kind of take a look at that. I just think that that is absolutely hysterical to see how all of these things, all these scientific tests that have been done to try to quantify how the universe operates, and it's all well, you don't measure the speed of light round trip, you're only measuring it one way. So maybe the one way is actually the speed of light that you're measuring, and it's instantaneous the other way.
In your frame of context.
Or maybe that's the 14.8 billion years for the Big Bang and the stretched out light and radiometric background noise of the universe. That was just put there by God so that we'd be able to find it later. Because it's all hand-wavy magical bullshit. Why do these people just hold on to that so tightly? Why is it so difficult for these people to just accept the universal truths?
That we don't know yet. I think the hardest part for them is saying, I don't know.
They want absolute answers. And
That illusion of certitude.
yeah, they want that feel good feeling. And they don't get it when they hear an answer that they understand that the answer could be wrong in the future as new knowledge is learned. Kind of like how math and physics and various branches of science change when we uncover and discover new functions or um, learn that we were wrong about a certain formula or a certain function. And even though we correct ourselves, they don't like the fact that we were wrong in the past and now we have to update. It's kind of like when I watch people use a computer. Okay. It's the same effect. If you tell people, hey, look, we're switching over to Microsoft 365. For those of you who don't know, it's Microsoft's plan to use software as a service. So instead of buying a
Welcome to hell.
box like we used to and sticking a CD in a drive, you download your software, you install it, and you pay a monthly fee, or you pay a subscription model instead of paying, $400 to $1,000 at the store. You might pay $20 a month. For some people, they freak out over that. Doesn't matter that you only pay for what you use and that you don't have to pay for extra stuff, but they still freak out over that. Some people freak out when, oh, we're going from Word 2000 to Word 2010 or Word 2016 or Word Microsoft Word 365. People freak out because the little icon that they always clicked on to save their file is over on, two icons to the left now instead of two icons to the right. They literally lose their minds over it. Okay, there are a lot of people in this world who cannot handle change. So when you tell them, look, we made a mistake in our fundamental understanding of the universe. So time scales based on it changes based on gravity and speed and so on when we thought it was a constant. It's only a constant under these situations, and people lose their collective minds. So the Bible is static. The Bible says, well, if you don't understand anything, that's okay because, it's God's will. You don't have to think for yourself. Just sit over here and feel good knowing that you're doing everything right by just obeying us. and they don't have to change. They become stagnant. They stay in the bubble and they don't do anything. Now, that's not
Until it
everybody
does.
that believes. There are plenty of people in the science communities, the mathematics communities, and physics communities that are still religious believers, but that still update their knowledge. They still update their skill set. This does not apply to the whole.
Yeah, Joseph,
Sorry.
you were about to say.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, people tend to stick in that belief until it doesn't work for them anymore. And then they're no longer part of the picture. You've only got the believers left over.
Yeah, that's the funny part about
No,
that.
but yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just that the way that you're saying that they'll stick with that until it's no longer, I forgot what word you specifically used, no longer relevant, for a second here. Because,
Well, like it's like praying for protection, you know. And as long as you're in good health and quote unquote protected from your environment, well, everything's good for you. And hey, it's working. But as soon as you're not protected, you come down with cancer or something like that. Well, you may succumb to your malediction, and you're no longer part of the picture.
yeah, where I was going is that with so many uncovered pieces of the way that the universe operates, that we've as a species have been fortunate enough to ascertain, test, and understand, at least to some limited capacity. It really it's finally dawned on me from how you were saying that for the religiously minded, they don't necessarily deal with those pieces. They don't intersect with those facts of the universe, generally speaking, until they have to. At which point, up until that very point where it's actually relevant to them, they don't have anything that they can butt up against. And Brigid, this is where I'm going to get you pulled in on this one, because that very well describes a lot. Well, let's see. The Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm thinking very specifically, they will butt heads against. They will butt their religion up against healthcare, up until the point where they have to deal with the possibility of losing a child. And then sometimes they kind of, fortunately, some will actually have their come to God moment and say, you know what, no, I want to save my kid. Because for them, it's the, what is it? It's the blood. Yeah, because the blood has to stay in the body. It can't be replenished from outside, right?
Something like that.
The Jehovah's Witnesses, right?
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have transfusions. Yeah, there was a whole episode of House where he was like, "Oh, so what you're saying is you'd rather die?" It's like, yeah, they really would. The quote
That's
unquote true believers are like, no, 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 no. I know a transfusion might save my life, but no, it's in God's hands now. It's like, if you really believed in a God, you would believe that the God also put the surgeons down there to give you the option to save your life. You fucking idiot.
that's what's so evil about religion, is that part of the quiverful movement and all that is just the more you augment the number of newborns, the more you augment the possibility of survivors. Because I mean, people who fall to sickness and all that, they tend to be in the minority of the population. And I mean, religion lives off the successful, the people who can earn their keep, and the church gets their 10% or whatever. And the more kids there are, well, the more guaranteed the church's profits are.
I hate to say it, but you're making me think of the movie Idiocracy because of that.
And we're way beyond idiocracy now.
Yeah, we are. I agree with Joseph on that one. We really are. We're voting for cults of personality. We're doing. Oh my God, it's just it hurts.
I would love
it's
it
so
if
painful.
I would love it if our president was a well-intentioned, rap-loving idiot. But that's not the case.
No, it's not.
We got somebody vying for the presidential. Somebody who wants to be. He's not even part of the big boys club, but he wants to be like the big boys, and which means just living off pure manipulation.
So what you're saying is you got your own Trump.
Oh, I'm actually speaking through an American context. And I mean, I'm saying we because the rest of the world tends to follow examples. I mean, Putin wouldn't be doing what he's doing if he didn't have Trump as an example already.
Well, I think it's kind of the other way around. Putin was pretty well doing whatever it was that he was doing anyway for... God,
well, look at all the shit Trump's getting away with. And I mean, Putin must look at that and going, holy shit, yeah, well, Trump has definitely pushed the envelope. I mean, look at everything he's convicted for. And I mean, he's still going to be running for president. And his phrase, I could literally kill somebody on Broadway and not be held accountable for it because he has this following. And it's funny, but Russia is basically on the same model. You have a central figure who's deciding everything for everybody, and just people are just happy to leave it at that.
The difference, though, between the two is that here in the United States, it's a bunch of sycophants that will flood the everything with support versus Russia, where it's a iron-fisted dictatorship, and people will just simply no longer be active in the population one way or another.
The lower classes, and then the higher classes will just continue voting for whoever provides the scraps that are falling from the table above them. And for the lower classes, the quote unquote unwashed working, yeah, I don't trust any election in Russia.
No, it's hard to do that. Wherever there is an election, and the number is staggeringly high for one personality, usually whoever it is, it's still the incumbent. When you get 80% of the vote plus, yeah, you really do have to kind of look at stuff and go, I don't know, man. Doesn't sound quite... Something's wrong there.
Yeah, to the mix, potential political opponents being poisoned or having quote unquote accidents.
Yeah.
Trump would love to do that, but I think he's incapable.
Well, he's also... Okay, I can kind of wrap part of this into the overall of where we are at this point. One of the things that Donald Trump has said publicly, on the record, in front of many people, including video recording equipment, was that if he is reelected, that he will be an absolute dictator for the first day, and then, not so much after that.
Bullshit. He'll be a dictator nonstop, but that's beside the point.
He's already tried to do that, and as somebody pointed out, the only reason why he didn't get away with it was because there were still adults in the room around him. Like he's a petulant 5-year-old child, which I can't say is wrong. Other than the fact that according to the chronology, he's not 5 years old.
Like I said,
Oh.
he's that hall monitor kid that nobody liked, that's sucking up to the teachers and just being an absolute pain in the ass because he can't get along with anybody. Not that not that he's tried, he's just doesn't.
It's funny, his position makes him even more intolerable because, well, he's going to be the first, since he wants to be part of the big boys club, he's going to be the first to denounce anyone not playing by the big boys rules, or anyone daring to bother the big boys.
So the reason why I'm wrapping these together and allowing us to go down this particular rabbit hole is, like I said, because there is still the common theme where we can point out the realities. We can point out there are books available for your kids right now that have a chapter dedicated to a couple of daughters who intentionally get their father drunk so that they can have sex with him, effectively raping him. And it's a chapter in a book that is on the shelves right now for your kids to go ahead and see. And oh yeah, by the way, that's your Bible? Oh no, it doesn't say like that. Motherfucker, have you read it?
Sure as hell do.
So yeah, he says he's going to be a dictator for that first day, but that's just his the way that he talks, the locker room talk. That's just the braggadociousness of people like him, because he's so successful at everything that he's done, like an airline and mail order steaks and
How do you bankrupt a casino?
a casino.
You don't know how to bankrupt a casino?
According to the statistics, it should not be possible to do.
Correct. Because the house usually wins. But when you're embezzling, you're going to bankrupt something. That's how the mob used to work. You leech, you do also. So, what was the name of that movie? Damn, I'm gonna have to look it up now. Had Ray Liotta in it. It was based off a true mobster. Anyway, the character he was playing, to be exact. One of the things that the mob used to do is that they would get businesses, whether it's a restaurant or whatever, right? They'd use it to filter money. They'd bring in something and they'd sell it cheaper, pocket the cash, write things off as lost, stolen, whatever. And when they couldn't squeeze any more out of the business because the business was too far into the red, they'd burn it down or whatever they had to do to collect insurance money, and the business would be gone. So losing businesses for the mob was not uncommon. Granted, there was the outliers like the pizza place up in New York where they made instead they were trying to use the pizza parlor to funnel money through and wash it, but it turned out that they were making so much more money making pizza. It was much more profitable to be a legitimate business that they turned it into a legitimate business. You don't hear about many of those tales, but they did happen too. So now basically, instead of doing it to a restaurant or to a laundromat, it was being done to a casino, which means a lot more money, a lot of more different, a lot. The ways to embezzle and steal are varied because it's a different type of business, and it's still possible, but it takes some serious effort, man, especially for a casino, because there were plenty of mafioso and so on and so forth that ran casinos that still managed to take money out of them and not have them go bankrupt. So you're either really, really inept or you're so greedy that the casino can't keep up.
And let's remember just real quickly, that a lot of this quote unquote bookkeeping was literally in pages of books up through, through the 70s and probably part of the way through the 80s, because automation of a lot of the stuff was kind of expensive through those years. It didn't happen quite as much, but over time, yeah, it's a lot harder to, fudge the numbers, shall we say. It's almost impossible to do now with the digital everything. So, Joseph, all yours.
It's kind of like, miracles kind of disappeared with the advent of photographic technology.
And yet they still go in and say, "Oh, look, we captured this ghost on camera." And it's like, dude, that's a speck of dust reflecting light, or that's an arc due to bad wiring, or you've caught a shift in temperature causing the creaks in the house to make sound effects, or you're using an old cassette style recorder that has its own built-in noise in a quiet environment, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet it's still, oh, it was ghosts.
Yeah.
Why do you want to believe that? It's funny because I kind of draw a parallel with getting over our fear of hell. But like, it's funny when you look at a lot of Hollywood's horror movies, aside from the gore, I mean, just like absolutely nothing scares me now. I mean, you just look at it and it's like, yeah, well, okay, poltergeist, yeah, eye roll, ho hum. Why does that shit still work?
If you want to see
And why do
something
people
scary,
want to
watch the
believe that?
Terrifier, because the Terrifier uses real dismemberment torture methods that humanity used to use, and they did such a good job in the props and the makeup and in the whole thing that it is truly you could literally imagine going back in time and going, they used to do this. This used to be common.
The Saint Inquisition.
That too. But I mean, the whole like hanging somebody upside down, spread eagle, and then cutting them from the anus to the head so that the blood pools and keeps them alive till the very end. That's in the first Terrifier movie. Except I think it's done with a chainsaw. So it's quicker. But it doesn't make it less painful or anything like that for the person going through it, or less lethal. But the point is that it's not magical, monster going through and ripping your heart out stuff. This is stuff that actually humans used to do to each other.
Yeah, I was talking more about like poltergeist movies or haunted
Hmm.
house or
Yeah.
the Malefic Nun or whatever.
Yeah.
The
Perfectly
thing about
reasonable.
ghosts, I remember there were several episodes of some ghost hunter television series where they went into several places and they basically showed that while these places were quote unquote common ghost hunting grounds, all the things that people were experiencing were just everyday normal things. Like I was saying, temperature shifts, or the house was shifting, or it was an electrical problem. The wires weren't shielded properly, they were old style cables, and so on and so forth. But they had one episode where I think they went to an asylum or something and a brick went flying across the room. And it was like, okay, guys, that's not normal. Why don't you just go ahead and investigate that? But instead, they ran out and they never went back. And it's like, you idiots! If you're following the scientific method, you have an unexplained event of a brick going flying. That is something that you should be examining, I would imagine, if you're truly interested in learning something. But no, they never went back. We don't know what it was, and
Yeah, but
they
to
never
keep
returned. It's
the
like,
ambiguity. But that's how the show keeps going.
but that's the thing. I mean, that bothers me so much that they would just walk past that. It's like, look, you had something that you couldn't explain. Now go investigate it. That's what you're supposed to do. And instead they went, no, we're not going to do that. I was like, at that point, I lost all respect for the show, and I just was like, I'm never watching
If you
this
want to
crap
be
again.
if you want to be tested for your belief in that shit, come to the castle.
Mhm. I like castles. I really do.
Yeah.
I like learning where the sound effects are coming from, the noises are coming from. I don't like learning
Yeah.
when they're usually from rats because infectious diseases, not because rats freak me out. Rats don't bother me, snakes don't bother me, but
Mm.
disease does. And it's just like, you know, castles have holes in the walls and everything else. So I like learning where certain sound effects come from. It was like, oh, that was created by the foundation. This aspect of the foundation was crumbling, and the surface was running together, and they were making the shrill chirp as the rocks slid. It's like, well, that's really cool, you know.
Well, speaking of shrilled with shrill chirps, at the castle, if you don't close your bedroom window before sundown, you're gonna find your room full of bats.
You can see bats don't bother me. I just wouldn't want them in my house, you know. But I
Yeah.
like bats because they eat the bugs. Just
Yep.
like I like possums because they eat the ticks, and they're immune to Lyme disease. So even if you get bit by a possum, you're not going to get Lyme disease, even though they eat ticks. So you just leave the possum alone, and the possum will help you.
Felix had also pointed out, what you wrote was Spectre Radio. I think you meant spectral radio. Otherwise, what a lot of folks refer to as an EMF detector, quote unquote.
Electromagnetic frequency, yeah.
Yep. See, the problem with these kinds of things is, and Tech, please don't take this personally.
No problem.
As soon as you take an entertainer's word as scientific investigation, you've already lost the plot.
Yeah.
Well, now I say that from the standpoint of we want the investigation to go on. So for us, we'd be losing the plot because we're not looking at these guys and going, well, you're just running out scared because you, or at the very least, you're playing it up good for the camera, instead of going in and investigating what was that brick that happened. Versus us going, well, I want to know what's going on with that brick. And why aren't you doing that? Because that's not their job.
Well, it should be.
Yeah, and I understand that they're supposed to be entertainers, and like Joseph said, they should be doing that scientific investigation. I would have liked to have seen.
Well, they
You know,
say they are, actually. They say they are. That's the entire theme of the show. They say that we're going to investigate this scientifically, and at the end, well, they don't.
Because it's,
Which is just,
yeah,
it's
because,
bad faith. I mean,
yeah, because it's not the job. The job is to
well,
sell advertising time, and you do that by entertaining the masses with the bread and circuses.
well, the basically you can apply this to any subject, but if you start a show saying our goal is to answer the questions, and you never answer the questions, well, you just make it possible for the show to go on. Otherwise, you're going to have one season of episodes. If every episode they actually answer a question, well, credits roll at the last episode of the first season, and well, the show's over.
And the funny part of it is, I know of at least one series where not only did that not work that way, but it actually was successful with answering all these questions. I'm thinking specifically of Mythbusters. You want to go ahead and you want to see what it's like to be a scientist without being a scientist? Holy smoke, was that amazing. I mean, these guys finding out, okay, if we've got this unit of this, and we want to try to find out what it's going to take to make it do this, well, we have to take into account this and that and that and this and this and that. But we don't have to worry about this and that and that and this because of this variable. So we're going to ignore that part because it's not part of it all. So let's find out what happens when we smash this into this. This is going to be great. And they were entertaining at the same time that they were going, well, let's find out when things go boom. And usually when things go boom with them, things go boom in a safe way. Every once in a while it doesn't. Which is, I guess, kind of the NASCAR method of doing scientific investigation. You're there for the race until you're there for the explosion that's not supposed to happen.
Be interesting is that if a show is dedicated to elucidating phenomena, if they didn't stop at finding the answer, if they went further, to find the motivation of the person creating the illusion, like, I mean, if something's a fraud or like a miracle and all that, like Key Bono, why would somebody do that? And just to show, well, not only this person benefits from this creating such a phenomenon and all that, it's basically every time you're going to come down, it's going to be the same thing again and again, which might get quite boring after time, but it's going to be just basically someone exploiting our indoctrination, lack of autonomous thought, or just our unwillingness to actually think about things, whether it be magic or religion or whatever. It's always going to be the same thing, or ghosts, or it's going to be the same thing.
That would be kind of fun. That would be kind of fun. Doing the whole thing about motivation for magicians or illusionists or whatever terminology you want to use for it. It's okay. Penn and Teller, and yeah, I'm kind of coming back around that because I still want to get to the thing about it from the scopes. With Penn and Teller, they actually do say in their shows, we are going to lie to you. You paid us money so that we can lie to you. We're being upfront that we're going to lie to you. So now that we know where we stand with each other, let's go ahead and we're now going to lie to you. With magicians, professional magicians, illusionists, escape artists, there is supposed to be an acknowledgement of that truth. We're going to lie to you. We're going to do things that are not supposed to be able to be done if you look at it the way that we present it to you. And at least for that specific segment of people, there is an accepted thing that excuse me, that they're doing it intentionally for entertainment value, not to be able to get anything more out of anybody other than they got the money for the ticket for the show.
But again, we're praying into the same, like, all of us would like to be the absolute master of our environment. We'd like to understand everything that's happening in our environment and control any of it to avoid anything bad. If we understood our environment perfectly, everything would be predictable and we could avoid potential hazards and things like that.
Sure.
And they're all playing into this illusion of certitude about our environment. And as long as we don't understand our environment, well, that desire is going to exist. The desire, yeah, whether or not you understand your environment, that desire of understanding, or at least the illusion of the same, it's still going to persist. This is why, people indoctrinated, they continue in their false sense of certitude because their religion has explained their environment to them, and it's like this, and I'm still okay today, so it's working, so don't bother me, and I don't want to think about it, and just leave me with my illusion of understanding. And that's why superhero movies are just like so. You imagine you have all these superpowers and you can control everything in your environment and get out of danger and all that. And it's funny when when things get dire in the economy and all that. Well, the superhero movies and religion suddenly become very popular. Because rather than think about the actual cause of the problem, well, let's just pretend that we could fix everything if we really wanted to, but let's just leave that job to whoever's causing the problem in the first place. Anyways.
The thing about it is, and forgive me, my throat's a little on the dry side right now. I don't disagree with you in any way on this one, because the whole, okay, the mystique that goes along with the people who do it who do illusionism for entertainment specifically. Like I said, it's an accepted acknowledgement that we are going to present things to you in a way that will lie to you. And there's a tacit acknowledgement that that's truism. But then you end up with people who put asses in seats, and they put on these performances, and they do the illusionist things. But the expectation, the assumption that it is for entertainment value only, that it is intentionally just for fun, is out the window. And that's when it becomes harmful, I guess is the best way to put it, for society. I'm thinking of the mega church pastors, the preachers who are out there doing the prosperity gospel, who are supposedly speaking in tongues. That's bullshit. It's been proven that that's just bullshit. The people who do the whole faith healing thing, again, it's been shown to be bullshit many times over.
But that's just it, because I mean that's the dividing line, because it's whether you, because basically someone exploiting the, shall I call it, the basics of human nature, they
Sure.
have an understanding of how humans work. And if they exploit that for entertainment and they present it as such, and this is a trick, and actually the joke's on you, that's one thing. But if somebody doing that, exploiting human weaknesses for profit, without disclosing their real motivation or intention, that's something else. It's kind of like, a pickpocket. If they visibly touch your shoulder, they know that your brain is going to ignore the rest of your body. If you reach out and touch someone on the shoulder, you're not going to be paying attention to your pocket anymore, which leaves the pickpocket's other hand free to do whatever it wants. And you won't even notice. And I mean, it's just, they have an understanding of the toolbox of the human brain, like how humans work, and they're exploiting it to a bad end. So, they can be condemned for that. Magicians who do disclose, that's something completely different.
Yeah,
But
and
it basically comes down to a lack of understanding of our own functioning being exploited.
I think that's where it gets sad for me when you realize that there are people who have learned how to manipulate the human psyche enough to be able to pull off exactly those kinds of things. I'm not going to say that they are evil necessarily. There are some that I would qualify as evil, sure, but I don't necessarily know that it's all evil, so to speak. Let me give you guys a little bit of a palate cleanser really quickly, and kind of set that aside for just right at the moment. Coming back to the Penn and Teller episode that were in the scopes, season 10, episode 1. What ended up happening that makes this such a great episode, and I'm going to suggest that folks check it out. I did not add a link to a YouTube video. I probably should have. Sorry, I didn't think about it.
We're talking about Moxie, right?
Penn Jillette's daughter, Moxie, appeared on the show. Completely did not know that she was going to be there. Did not know that she was one of the people that was slated to be on the show for that recording. She had been practicing an illusion to do in front of her father and her, I forget how they described Teller, but basically his dad too. I mean, just because of how close the families are.
Right, and she goes into a little bit of banter about him in her life.
And she goes ahead and she admits, yes, dads, I've lied to you that I've not been out of the country in, where was it, Ireland or something like that. So every time you talk to, so every time that you called me and had a video call with me on my phone, I had to find a place to do the call so that you wouldn't know I wasn't actually out of the country. And blew his mind. And he had to admit, you know what? You spent the last 2 months doing this, and I didn't even know what was going on under my own nose. Yeah, you've already fooled me, so all right. So the motivation there was to have fun. And again, it wasn't for anything other than just to have fun. It was a joke. So you deal with people like, and I'm going to bring this name up again, Peter Popoff. And the motivation is simply greed. Creflo Dollar. Again, the motivation is greed. These people who are supposedly operating these churches of God with hundreds of people that send thousands upon thousands of dollars because they want the hope that they will get something in return. Because they don't, for whatever reason, either they never were taught how to understand this, or they've intentionally switched it off in their head. You don't get thousands of dollars by asking the heir for it and sending a couple $100 when all is said and done to somebody else. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. And these people are charlatans, not illusionists, who prey on the innocence of these people, whether it's true innocence or selective is immaterial. they're the ones that I have a lot of hate towards, and I use hate in scare quotes because I don't hate. I dislike. I will actively want to punch somebody in the face that deserves it. But the ones who have intentionally said, I'm not going to believe the stuff that is plainly in front of my face, that has been documented, that has been shown to be accurate information. I refuse to believe in that. If we're talking about what's the motivation, I really do want to know what the hell is the motivation. Because there are other groups that say, okay, you know what? The Earth is not 6,000 years old. There's a misunderstanding that we've got for whatever it is that's in this book. You're still trying to cite the book as some kind of an authority, which in and of itself is a problem, but why don't they want to just examine? Or more appropriately, the wording that I want to use is, why won't they put in the effort to have even the most basic of understanding of what the reality is? And have I actually... Yeah, I was about to say, or is it that I've just literally answered my own question with the question?
But it's also it's more evil than that because when we're very young, we're taught, oh, you're not capable of understanding your surroundings, so you have to let other people decide, let the authorities decide for you. They know better. And we get weaned into that system where that system, that train of thought, modus operandi.
Sure.
And as long as we're comfortable and everything's working for us and we got that cushy job, never mind that our boss is making 300% profit off our back, but we have what we want. So, everything's good. So don't rock the boat. And yeah, I'm not going to change anything in my way of living, way of not thinking, as long as everything's working for me. I mean, you really have to motivate people to think. You have to have a reason to. And if everything through our education and through our youth and everything is orchestrated to keep that sort of confrontation out of our lives, people aren't going to switch over.
Stephanie's also pointed out, Finland concentrates on teaching critical thinking at school from an early age. It is no wonder their education is considered the best in the world.
Yeah, because they're students, they understand not only what they're being taught to learn by rote, but also the purpose of it. And I mean, the whole approach, it's like an applied education, which means that not only you learn how to use it, you learn how it's used. Yeah, I've talked myself into a corner there.
No, you're exactly right though. If you're taught how to put the training to correct use, I would also assume that you would also be taught the why it's needed. And the why it's needed is basically because the less that people are fooled, the better people are, because they don't get stolen from by being manipulated. And it could be monetary, it could be almost anything. You could have your time taken away from you. It could be you're taking relationships away from you. But if you know what it is that's going on and you've got the tools to know how to examine that, it becomes just second nature to go, oh, well, that's not right. And it's not a hard thing to do, really.
Whenever you're confronted with a certain situation, well, depending on your education, yeah, you can be in a position to say, hey, I have a tool for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of just leave it to the authorities to deal with.
Yeah.
It comes back to, do you remember way back when? You know, back when Deborah was on the show, I had my hunter in the clearing analogy, if you can call that an analogy. I don't know. But basically, if you've got, you know, two lost kids and they come into a clearing and there's a hunter there, you know, the hunter can take them under his wing. Well, he has a choice between showing them how to survive, teaching them about their environment, or making the kids dependent on him to do everything for them. And I think it, you know, as far as economy is concerned, and going way down to basic human instincts or the basic toolbox we're born with, I think that applies.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tech, you would remember this. Once upon a time ago, with the person who did it is not exactly the greatest of personalities anymore, but back in the day when the Dilbert comic was still a big thing and still funny, I think her name was Alice, was the secretary for the big pointy-haired boss.
Yes.
And she was making anytime the boss came over and was just like, yeah, could you teach me how to do, I'll do it, and just kept doing everything for him, and literally admitted it's so that one of these days he will not know how to do anything for himself that has to do with an office, and we're just going to airdrop him behind some country whatever, so that he wouldn't be able to figure out how to pick up a phone to call for assistance or anything like that.
I don't remember that one specifically, but it doesn't. If you say it was in there, that would be consistent with the style of the comic that he's made.
Yep, it was.
Well, that's a good way that describes our economy, because I mean, look at fucking managers who are expected to manage people of who, how would I say this? Well, the manager has no understanding of the people, of the trade of the people he's supposed to manage. So basically, he's just a high paid bully. But I mean, like, a good lot of our economy is just built around that. And Dilbert is right to make a parody of it, because, I mean, it shouldn't exist. It's pointless.
Yep.
Or it should be pointless.
You're right. It should be.
Because as long as people are going to kowtow to authority figures, it's going to work. That system. Actually, if you're in a position of authority, you should be even more questioned than somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the people who go seeking those positions of authority have a bad tendency of being the ones who want to abuse said positions of authority.
Hey, most profit for least effort. Depend on everybody's ignorance.
And therein lies the problem. Makes me really wonder, with all that we've talked about in various different aspects that kind of circle in the orbits of these kinds of things, how do we break them out of that cycle? Can we break them out? Should we even bother? Or just let nature take its course and just build up a new, better prepared generation that won't get fleeced? Personally, I like that.
Something along the line of Ayn Rand's. It was like a utopia where there was a hidden utopia where all of the industrial barons would go to make their own little world where they could make their profits, of course, without any mention of who they're making their profit from, who are strangely not part of this world. Anyways, but yeah, just like a world apart, let the rest of the world burn.
Again, that doesn't sound very far off from where we are, sadly.
Hey, that's why I'm looking into Burgundy.
Tech, you were about to say?
There was a person who wrote a comic. It was 2-panel comic. One panel was one day, and another panel was the day after that day. And the first panel showed a newspaper with the headline, where the main subject line was scientists discover cure for or immortality formula or whatever, something to that effect. And the subheadlines talked about how the environment was in terrible shape, it wasn't getting any better, blah blah blah, and so forth. Then the second panel, where it had the second day, the major headline showed, billionaires, blah blah blah, investing millions and billions in environmental technologies. And it was just like, yeah, because they're going to be the ones investing in like that whole we've got the cure for immortality, now we're stuck sticking around, so we better do something about it. But the regular peons still aren't going to get the cure for the immortality pill. That'll be for the rich only.
Because until it actually impacts them, why do they have to bother?
Well, it's like Nancy Reagan. She was against anything benefiting the LGBTQ plus community back until her daughter came out as a lesbian. She was against stem cell
Cheney.
research. And was it Cheney? Oh, it was Cheney. Sorry. But she was against stem cell research until her husband needed it.
That was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but you see it consistently across conservative lines that they're against anything new unless it benefits them, and because here's the qualifier, and they need it. If they don't need it, even though it might be a benefit to them, if they don't need it, they're against it. Doesn't matter if it's going to benefit all the world and their conservative brethren and everything else. They don't need it. They're not going to vote for it. They're not going to favor it. You're on your own.
Well, it's funny going to you're saying that if there was a thing for mortality or even a cure for an illness, that it wouldn't be available to the lower downs. But
well, it's truth.
Who but at the same time, who do the quote unquote higher ups depend on for the profits? And I mean, it's the lower downs, unless they're so far down that they're not a source of income, and then basically they're written off. That would be true for them. But as far as I see it, our economy is like in 3 levels. You've got those up top consciously exploiting the weaknesses in human nature. And then you have the lower downs obeying every order of the higher ups. Oh, it's like the believers in chief who assure the continuity of this system because it's working for them. As long as I obey it's kind of like at the end of World War II, we were just following orders. Well, it's kind of like it's actually the parallels are a bit ominous there, but it's exactly the same thing. As long as we keep following the orders of the higher up, well, we're going to still get our scraps, and it's working for us. And then you have the believers lower down who require an authority figure or whatever to provide what little scraps they get, and so on down the chain. But I think it's the upper 3 levels that are the most important. So if you fall below that level, you disappear from the quote-unquote economic map. And strangely, if you go above that level, you just disappear completely. Because the people most benefiting from whether it be religion and all that, like the Catholic Church, they put the Pope to the forefront, but it's not the Pope making all the decisions. The first benefactors, we don't see them. When do we ever see the cardinals, who are actually the real decision and lawmakers in the Vatican? When are they ever on the forefront?
When they're finding a new figurehead.
Yep, basically it. And then they disappear. Not there anymore. And like the people, the shareholders on all these boards who, it's funny how the role of the CEO has changed. Before it was the head of everything. Now it's just a figurehead. But I mean, the people on the investors board who decide who the CEO is and make all the decisions, when are they ever in the press? We just learn maybe in somebody's obituary that, oh, they had a colossal fortune. Oh, where'd they get that?
Generational wealth.
Well, yeah, everything. But I mean, what I'm saying is it's not a topic of everyday discussion. It's not even present as an option for discussion.
There is that.
Because it's opaque.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wrap us now. I'm getting much more tired in a way that's actually affecting how I'm trying to think through stuff. So we're gonna have to wrap it right here. Brigid, I know that you have been silent this entire time, or you forgot to have your mute taken off. Is there anything that you want to go ahead and drop in here really quickly? Because I'm basically just giving you an opportunity to close it out before I do.
No, I don't really have anything. Sorry.
It's okay. No, if there's nothing else, we've learned, every once in a while, one topic works for us, one topic doesn't, and that's to each individual. It's not a big thing.
Yeah, sorry if I was monopolizing.
Not a worry. That being the case, then yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and clip us off here. I know it's not exactly the way I would normally do it, but I've been trying to hold on literally all day. It's not been a good day. So we'll call it a night right from here. Thank you everybody for being with us. Hope that you had yourselves a good time, and you got something to think about for the week ahead. And just thank you, Joseph. Again, glad you're able to make it. You take care of yourself. Have a hopefully an uneventful week ahead, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Fair. Tech, of course, as always, thank you. You too. You take care of yourself, would you please?
Yes, you too.
I am trying.
That's all we can do is try.
Brigid, reminding you that I've already had my time in bitch slapping Mitch, so he's off the table. Who do you want to go ahead and say a great old fu good night to?
How about Lauren Boebert?
Can't imagine why.
Sorry.
Doesn't she need to be at home taking care of her sons?
That would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, if she's following the biblical teaching, shouldn't she be obeying the men of the house and taking care of the children, and you know, not thinking for herself and not trying to be in a leadership position or anything?
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
That again, that was witch. Not. I don't think I should finish that piece because I've already used the word tonight. But you know what? I'm on board and I'm with you for this one. Perfectly reasonable. Glad you're able to make it. You take care of yourself, huh?
I will do my best.
And you guys over there on the live chat, I know I should have gotten to you first. Sorry. I'm off my game as usual. So, Stephanie, Phyllis, guys, thank you. Appreciate it. You take care of yourselves. Stay warm, stay dry, stay healthy. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you again real soon. All things being equal, we should be back again next week without too much of a problem. And I will make a concerted effort to double check and make sure that the audio is actually going through correctly. Sorry about that. I'll probably, before I go to sleep, I will probably end up taking a listen and find out what happened. In any case, as always, we'll see you soon. Please stay safe. All contact information so you can get in touch with us is over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. And I'm just gonna call it there because I'm so far off my mark. It's not even funny. So until the next time we're together, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. Wish you the strength that I've learned. Wish you well. And my lady, it is a lot of years later. I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always,